What's up, everybody? Make some noise! Let's go! Wow, what an amazing crowd. First of all, very honored to be here today. And it's amazing what you learn in a couple days, right? You come out, you show up, you absorb everything that you possibly can, and even one little snippet that you can take home with you and apply that in your life, it could change everything, right? And I remember, like, when I first started going to seminars, I went to John, and I'm like, John, hey, listen, he was hosting the first production summit, and I was hesitant to go. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't sure if I wanted to show up. He's like, Babar, just show up. Take something from it, and something will change out of your life. And you'll learn it, you'll apply it, and you'll make something happen from that. And taking that initiative, I remember, after that moment, I don't miss anything that comes up in my way. I will show up to that opportunity, right? So, my story kind of begins, by the way, I'm 26 years old, from Hamilton, Ontario, but I currently live in Brantford, moving back, very excited for that. And I recently got engaged. And I just bought a condo, which I'm closing this Friday. Very exciting. And I also just came back from Turkey, which was amazing. I did a solo trip down in Turkey. It was amazing, fantastic experience, very cheap if anybody wants to go. My story kind of began when my parents moved to Canada. I know the typical immigrant story, but when I was growing up, we came down to Canada when I was 9 years old, and they moved down here with 0 friends. They knew nobody. They had no connections whatsoever to the Canadian market, but they wanted a better future for their kids. My dad ran a couple of businesses back home, very successful individual, but just didn't see the future for us. He wanted to give us the opportunity. He wanted to give us a life that we could just make our choices, right? And when this happened, I'm the oldest child, and we moved down, and they also did not use technology, which was pretty common back home. But back home it was just a phone, call the phone, and then pick up this. Everything happens through the phone, right? And so we came down to the country, and I remember my mom pushing us around in a shopping cart because we were too tired and she couldn't figure out the subway system in Toronto. And it was a long while before we found a home, actually. But and the journey, they came on a business category, and when they came down, they had to buy a business. They had to operate a business for them to get their citizenship, right? And they went and found this realtor who was from Mississauga, from Pakistan, from my country, and we thought we could trust him. And so he gave us a bunch of advice and where to go. And my dad had 2 conditions. One was that he wanted to be in a good neighborhood. Second was that he wanted for the business to be on the main floor and for us to live on the second floor. So that way he could give us like the attention that we need and we could see everything, right? And so that was my first real experience to see what a business is like as a young individual. I was 13 years old at the time. And my dad got this place in Hamilton, and if any of you know Hamilton, back in 2010, Hamilton was not a place to be in downtown. It was a terrible, terrible neighborhood, and we did not know this. So we trusted this individual, my dad trusted this individual, and he took all of his life savings and put this into this business. $350,000 back in 2010. Imagine that. When the market was not doing so well, right? And he bought this business, and I remember for 3 years straight, this man did not take a day off. It was holidays, it was our celebrations, everything that you can imagine, he sacrificed for us. And, sorry guys. It was very amazing for me because like as the oldest child and as a person who has 4 younger siblings, I was the role model, right, as you could say. And I saw him struggle, but I didn't quite understand it at the time. And I went through some, dark times myself, trying to understand everything, just trying to fit into Canada. It was tough. Back then it was tough. There was a lot of racism and everything like that. So you had to like really do everything you possibly could to fit in, right? So what happened was we went through this journey for 3 years. He did everything he possibly could. And he got some advice, which wasn't the right advice, but it was, because I wasn't behaving as the golden child, you would say. We went through this journey, and he basically claimed bankruptcy from that business. And he let that go, and we then moved to a little 2-bedroom condo to restart. But every man has a backbone, right? And that backbone is his woman. And so my mom carried him from there and, told him, hey, listen, let's get out here. Let's go buy something. Let's save everything we possibly could. We can start from scratch. They had a vision, right? Like, they came all the way to Canada. They wanted to do something. They wanted to do something for their kids. And they were going to do whatever they could to make sure that happens. So they went out and they saved every penny they could, started from scratch, got a little pre-construction detach up on the mountain, and that's where my journey really began. I got exposed to something different. I got exposed to something that was outside of the norm, you would say, for me at least, right? And I got my first job as a flyer boy, and I started delivering at the age of 15, I started delivering flyers. I went out and I did about 250 flyers every single day after school, and I would work until my feet were hurt. I didn't care. I just wanted it. I wanted to make this happen. I wanted to make it work somehow, some way, right? And so I go out, I started doing flyers. The guy promotes me. I get an inside job. I started making pizzas. I used to do little tricks, fly them up in the air, catch them. I would put it on the show, right? And it was pretty incredible, like, going from that journey and managing that store actually eventually. And from there, I started like, this is not it for me. I can't spend, making 13, 15, whatever dollars an hour right now in my life. I need to do something better. So I got my buddy. We drove all the way to Alberta. And we were going to do construction, because at that time, in 2017, or 16, sorry, Alberta was doing fairly well. Like, they were booming, right? Like, their market was pretty strong at that time. And so we drove down right after graduation. We got a little place. We started working. So in the morning, I would do flooring, right? And in the afternoon, I would go and manage another restaurant down there, right? So 15 hours a day. And I'm working day and night, and I remember one morning, we got up, and the morning wasn't my morning, but for some reason there was this desire in me that something was wrong that day. And we were in the Tim Hortons parking lot, like just getting our daily coffee, and I was sitting down, and I remember writing on my pants, never give up. Why? I don't know, don't ask me. But we went to the site that day, and my friend gave me the cutting board. I go out to cut the piece of wood, and the board kicks back, and my entire hand gets caught in the table saw. And that's why I cannot move my left fingers. The movement is short. But, you try every single day you wake up, and you try. For the next thing, for the next moment, that today is gonna be it, right? You go out there every single day, and today is gonna be it. But life beats you up, it knocks you down, because everything has a plan. You have it tomorrow, guys, right? But that moment, you don't realize what's happening to you in your world, because that's all you see, right? So I go home, I didn't tell my parents, I went through the surgery, they signed me the waiver. Hey, you might wake up to no fingers today. Okay, sounds good. All right, take it. And I go through this journey, And my friend ended up calling my dad, so he didn't tell my family, but because my mom would have got worried, right? So my dad drove down, we came back to Canada, to Ontario, and I was losing hope. It was like, you know what, I tried this, my parents think I'm a failure, nothing is working out, you know, what do I do? And again, you know, every man has a woman that's gonna help them get through a lot of tough times in your life. And that was my mom. She came down, she gave me the inspiration, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go to school. I'm gonna go back to education, I'm gonna do something, right? Just to get out of the house. So 3 months, I didn't see anybody, I was in my room, I had this cast on, I couldn't put my jacket on, I couldn't do anything, right? You did, and you know, just a little accident can like change a lot of your day, or it can change a lot about your life, right? And so I went down to school. After a year, I came up with this brilliant idea, okay? This is a good one for all of my guy friends over here. So I came up with this idea to create an online website where you can take any picture on social media, you can upload it to our site, any suit, you can upload it to our site. I'll find the person that has the material, and I'll make it based off your custom measurements, and I'll deliver it to your doorsteps within 3 weeks. That was a brilliant idea, okay? So I packed everything up, I sold my car, I had like $7,000 or $10,000 in cash, and I flew into Pakistan. That's all I needed. So I flew into Pakistan, and I went right into the dungeon of learning everything about suits. How are they made, where the fabrics are sourced, everything that you can possibly imagine, right? I learned everything. I met with individuals that knew how to design a website, logos, and that's when I learned e-commerce, right? And sorry, I'm getting to my point on how to automation. But so we go through this journey. It took me about 7 or 8 months, and then after which I launched this website. It was running, it was operating, and I came back to Ontario, and I started going to friends. I started going to the mall. I would literally sit in the mall for like hours, waiting for the one opportunity for a guy to come in so I can have a conversation with him, so I can sell him a suit, right? But I didn't make a lot of sales at the time. But that led me to a conversation with my brother, because we were both doing this together. He's younger than I am. And we went through this conversation. We were like looking at opportunities. What the hell are we gonna do now, right? I kind of felt like a failure. I'm like, you know what, like nothing is working out, like why, right? And he's like, what about real estate? Yeah, it makes sense. Like, I mean, I could build a business. I don't need a lot of capital right now because I burnt everything on this business that I just launched. And he's like, yeah, real estate, man, do that. Why not? I'm like, okay. He's like, you want to do it with me? He's like, yeah, sure, let's do it. I'm like, cool. So we go through this, the course. After the first course, like, this is not for me, dude. I'm done, right? He gets out after the first. I'm kind of happy that he did, because like he's doing better, bigger and better things now. He's on to a different journey. And so he got out, and then I stayed, because I liked it. I'm like, you know what? I can make something out of this. I can make something work. And so I began on this journey, and then I finished my school. But at that time, I was doing Uber, because I had to pay my bills. So long story short, I interviewed brokerages and went down on this journey of finding a brokerage. I got my license, hallelujah, I'm super happy. And I go interview, and I'm like, hey, listen, I just need a mentor. They're like, okay, yeah, we can provide that for you. I'm like, okay, cool. That was my only condition. But the next condition I had was, how are you gonna train me, right? He's like, well, I have a few questions. He's sitting down like this. He's like, Babar, do you have a database? I'm like, I'm fucking. Sorry, my apologies. I mean, 26 years old, what do you expect, right? So he asked me, he's like, do you have a database? I'm like, 22 years old, I don't have a database. I don't know anybody that wants to buy or sell real estate. The next question he asked, do you have parents who come from a rich family? I'm like, I mean, they used to, but we're trying, we're making our way back up now, right? And I'm like, okay, but he's like, can you ask them? I'm like, yeah, I can put together a list. So that was my first kind of like realization because I put together the 12 people that I had in my database, and I put them on my list, and I started reaching out to them, and I told them, every single person there. I told everybody, I'm like, hey, listen, I'm a real estate agent. I want to buy or sell real estate. But here's my life-changing moment, okay? This time it wasn't a woman. It was my man, Fernando Ferrara. Woo! Give it up, give it up. So, shit, man. We went through some tough times today. Yeah. Okay. So, Fernando took me under his wing, and he showed me everything that he possibly could. This was one of the only men that I met in my life, well, I mean also women, but that just wanted to give. Wanted to give. Without asking anything in return. That's powerful. That's powerful. That is powerful. Because as this man, his life changed as well as mine. Right? It is a powerful, powerful thing. Giving without expecting anything in return. Give people, give as much as you possibly can. Give to the person right next to you. Smile, be genuine. And that was a lesson that I learned from him. And also many other things. But we started getting cold calling, and started doing door knocking, and again, life's gonna beat you up, right? So 8 months, $18,000 in debt. Driving Uber between my calls, and staying up until 5 a.m. in the morning, coming back, doing more calls, doing door knocking. Hallelujah, I land my first listing. You guys know what that feels like? Yeah. So I land my first listing. That was a powerful day for me. I was celebrating. I remember calling Fernando, like, yeah, we made it, right? I'm like, all of my problems are gonna be solved, everything's gonna be okay, and hallelujah, little did I know, after everybody gets paid, you get a whopping $4,000. Isn't that great? Yeah? Yeah, so I'm like, okay, well, I ended that year with $18,000 in debt. Fast forward, well, I'm running out of time. Fast forward, and just learning everything about, different experiences from life. Because life teaches you, right? If you really pay close attention to the things that are happening around you, you will realize that life is trying to teach you something. It's trying to mold you into the person that you want to be in the future. It's doing its part. You just gotta pay attention. So I paid attention. I was looking at every opportunity that was given to me. And all of those, the kicks, the bruises, everything that was happening to you, I was absorbing it for a very, very long time. But I did not give up. I put in the effort. I went to work the next day. I woke up and made my 100 calls. I did all of the work on my first year. And guess what? In my second year of business, 32 transactions. Woo! And why that is, guys, I put in the time and the energy and the effort and everything that I possibly could learn. I put it out there. I give it to the universe for me to receive now. As the 5 principles of life, 4 times you give, the 5th time you receive. So you give and you keep on giving. I landed my first listing. Can I share, John, is it okay if I go over a little bit? 5 minutes? Yeah? Okay. So I got this opportunity to, I was doing it was a FISBO, right? It was in Brantford, actually. And I met this guy on Kijiji, and then I went to meet him at Tim Hortons. This guy did not, he looked at me and he looked away. But I ended up going to his house, and I looked at the listing and gave him a whole spiel and everything. But then he ended up choosing somebody else. 6 months, sending him notes, note cards, text messages, thing after thing after thing after thing. He listed a property with a big agent, but I was watching. It wasn't selling, right? Keep sending him postcards. Keep sending him text messages. No response whatsoever. For 3 months, and then he sends me a message back. I'm like, hallelujah, that's all I need. He's alive, right? He's alive. And I remember I sent him I think you probably got tired of my mail, but anyways, it came down to the point where he did not sell the property. It was around New Year's. I sent him a text message purposely because I see expired. I sent him a text message. I'm like, hey guy, how are you? Happy New Year's. I noticed that you didn't sell your listing. Right? And he gets back to me. He's like, yeah, man. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm here. Let's do something. The guy calls me in, listed that property, first $1 million listing, and 5% commission, hallelujah, right? Sold it, he was happy, right? Now, all of everything that I've learned, I realized that I need to run a business. At the end of the day, we're not in the business of chasing the next deal. Because you can do that for a very long time. I know agents that are 50 years old, they're still chasing the next deal. And for me, I realized that I can't do just one thing. Because I don't have a database. 26 years old. How are you supposed to have a database? You don't know anybody that's... All the people that I know want to go and party every Saturday and Sunday. Right? Heck, even some of you want to party every Saturday and Sunday. But that's all the people that I know. So I realized that I have to diversify. So I picked my 5 things, right? Social, leads, a part of your database because that's growing, right? Pick your 5 pillars, guys. Choose 5 things that you're gonna focus on. And the first step is processes. So we learned from, Matthew mentioned door knocking, Carrie, he mentioned database, right? Since yesterday and today, we've been learning processes. Everybody has learned a single process since yesterday and today. Say, right? We have. So we have all of these processes, all of the things that we're learning and everything that we're absorbing. What do you do with it? How do you automate things? How do you get business to come to you without you working for the business? So my first step is process. So I picked 5. I put a list together of all the things that I want to focus on, and I broke them down to step-by-step action plans. So I have pretty much a list for everything that I have in my business. So a lead comes in, I know exactly what to do with it. I know exactly what to do with it. Let's say the lead is doing business in a year and a half from now. Be sure that I'm gonna call you in a year and a half from now. Actually, a little less, a year and 2 months, let's say. Right? Because you want to call them a little earlier, right? So I put that in my calendar. So I have created automated processes for everything. So once you have your process, create a list, put it together, and now you need the help of systems. We have a great system, which is called KV Core, right? Utilize that, guys. We have all of the automation tools that we can use for that. You have drip campaigns. You can send a text message. You can set up you can set it up in your calendar. At a certain time, you're going to send this guy a message or call him and say hello. Put that in your calendar right there and then when that lead comes in. As soon as you figure out the timelines from any lead when they're going to do business, put it in your calendar and also in KV Core. And so follow up with that process and make sure you don't drop it. Because I'll tell you, you miss it once, I'll be right there on that lead. So be resilient with the process. Make it a part of your life. Make it a part of your daily ritual. You do that enough times, you will have business come to you from different angles. So I've built my Google page. I get calls. I just landed I did a $1.4 million listing from a call that I got from Google. I'm ready to list with you. Let's go. Well, I didn't go that way, but right? But you start getting these calls. I get Instagram leads all the time. I get people that just call me and say, hey, I'm ready to go. Let's go. Because they're already seeing your stuff, right? Then you got your website. And then after a while, once you start, so in the beginning, you're gonna utilize the systems that you have, but every business needs a brand. And that brand is you. So what you gotta do is you gotta create the website, you gotta create, everything that a professional business has. Create those things, invest in those things. I invested in my business when I didn't have anything. I used to do door knocks, and I created a flyer, and me and Fernando would create that every month, and it looked like the biggest marketing failure, but I just did it. It was orange in color, and there was no theme, but I did it. I went and delivered it every single time, but I stick with that color, and I did it over and over again. But guess what? After 4 months, everybody realized that I'm going to be coming there with a postcard to give them that value, to give them the neighborhood market update. But you got to do it consistently. Don't drop it. Pick those 5 things and leave it on for at least 2 years. We tried something for 2 weeks and then we drop it. Oh, it didn't work, right? It didn't work. And what happened was, there's so many things that you're doing, you're just gonna keep doing that over and over again, and there's not gonna be a system that you have created. So the next thing after that, once you have systems, you need help. Hire an assistant, hire a marketer that is gonna help you with everything that you're doing. I don't understand when realtors are making $300,000 to $500,000 and more and more and more, and sometimes I meet some of these people and they don't even have an assistant. I'm like, why are you doing $20 work? It does not make sense to me, right? So invest in those things. It's a business. Treat it like one. Invest in those things. Invest in a system. Invest in any opportunity that can get you to the next step. So once you have that in place, once you have all the guides, once you have a process for yourself, then you can teach somebody else. Does that make sense? But if you don't have a process for yourself, how do you expect somebody else to learn? You can't. You can't teach them. So teach them with the step-by-step guide. When we have a listing, we know exactly what to do. The whole team communicates via Slack. Everybody's on communication. Everybody knows exactly what's happening. My photographer knows, my stager knows, and they show up. I've sold 17 transactions this year, and I can not even honestly, I'll tell you, like, I haven't even worked. It's that. I've been investing in it for the last 2.5 years now, right? And now you start to see the results, right? Time, energy, money, everything goes into it. So once you have that, you have your process, you have your employees, you've trained your employees, now you gotta keep making the investment on a residual basis. That brings me to my next point. When you make more money, up more money for your business. Spend in the market. Spend in those things. Because they will, nothing comes today, right? Everything has a timeline. You invest today, that fruit will come, from, let's say 5 years from now, but it came from somewhere. So invest back in your business. And the last step is very easy. That's when you become a CEO, right? And that's when you just monitor everything, what everybody's doing, and you keep an eye on it, and you just change it. Refine, change, refine, change, refine. That's all you gotta do at the end. The first few years, the first 4 steps are super difficult. Because until you have the first 4 steps, the last step cannot be possible. Any questions?
David, do you use, because I'm going to ask a similar question that I asked Sandy. Do you use Google AdWords? It looked like you were indulging in that.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I get a lot of leads, home evaluation leads. So I've created my own system now, right? Because I just know it, so why not, right? So I've created my own landing pages, my own campaigns, my own, like, with our own branding and everything like that. So yeah, we definitely.
So I'm gonna narrow it down to something more specific. What kind of Google AdWords are you? Not AdWords, but landing pages are you? I know you probably use.
I just do one Google ad, which is home evaluation leads. And the reason why I did that because I needed to change my strategy last year to get sellers, because buyers were very difficult to work with. But now, because our markets are changing, my strategy is also going to change, and I want to focus on buyers. So that's where the future is headed.
Are you focused on any particular region in Hamilton, or are you doing just a blanket?
No, Hamilton, Brantford is my market. I do not go out of that market. I refer anything else that I get out. Fernando? Is that good? David, sorry? Yeah.
I want to add a little bit question today. Babar and me, when we're in the same market, he has his own guy. He hired a guy. I use prime sellers. That's what I've been recommended by John's side. We both get the same leads. We just lost one listing to him. Marshall called me, oh, they told me that he got an agent. Okay, who was the agent? Oh, Babar. He got the lead, we lost.
Sorry, Marshall.
That's the matter where you get it from. Just get it.
But you're not, okay, so now to understand another perspective, you're not creating your own Google ads. You're
No,
not,
me, he does. But
Okay.
we are doing the same thing. It's
Okay.
a home evaluation with the same words, right?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. Just do it.
No, I'm just curious more about this, the context of the Google ads, strategy, and get a little more inside of that.
Cool. Yeah. I can answer. We can talk after too.
Okay.
Anybody else? Yes.
Are you using just the
Last question.
campaigns that are in KV4, or do you make your own?
So I saw the campaigns or the what we had in KV Core. So I just created my own kind of. I followed the template, but I've created my own because I have a different personality, and all of you have a different personality. So follow your personality and the way you communicate, and deliver that to your audience. Yeah. Cool.
Awesome.
Awesome, guys. Thank you very much.
Babar. That was awesome.